Hey everybody, this is Perch. We haven't talked about CB Cebulski in a while. This actually isn't about CB Cebulski, but the mail starts out that way, and I'm going to be really tempted to make some jokes, but I won't. I won't. I mean, look, I love Japan. I would go back to Japan and live there in a heartbeat. It was I enjoyed my time living there. I've enjoyed my time visiting there. I think Japan is wonderful. It's not made for everyone. In fact, I'll bet it's not made for most, but it is made for me. It's definitely it works for me. But I've never had a bad time in Japan. I think, well, yeah, no, that's true. Never had a bad time. Anyway, this mail. Hey, Perch, I noticed that CB Cebulski is currently in Japan for the second time this year. Well, he's got to hone up on his writings. I said I wasn't going to do it. I said I wasn't. Okay. In your opinion, is he actually conducting any useful business in Japan that will pull Marvel's comics out of the slump they're in, or has he reached all hope is lost and just using his position in the company to eat himself to death with ramen and Husburger? Well, could be both. He does like his food. Anyway, we'll okay. Let's get to the serious part, and then I'll give you a perspective. No, actually, because the rest goes kind of in a different direction. So, I have a theory because I know a number of people from Marvel have been over in Japan lately. There've been a few trips there. I absolutely think there is an attempt to kind of double down on some of the deals that have been profitable. The deal with Shueisha and some of what they've had going on over there have been a reasonable success, and it's getting traction. And basically, that deal in a nutshell is Marvel takes their characters and then they let creators in Japan do the work, and then they create stories and content that appeals to the Japanese audience, and then some of that stuff then can migrate its way back over to the U.S. and it's sometimes as popular as some of what they're doing in the U.S. Makes sense. I mean, the idea there is not. I mean, look, you may want to make fun of Marvel by saying you're giving up and you're basically letting somebody else do the work for you. But in all honesty, that is what should happen. If you go to a different region, then you should let you should let that region tell you what's going to work for that market. You don't go in there and be like, "Hey, bitches, take what we're making. Here's the multiversal Avengers. You're going to love that." That you don't do that. You go in and you're like, "Hey, who are the people who are making a lot of money who are experts in this market? Let's utilize them to push our stuff and make traction." That's, I think, what Marvel has done. So I would suspect CB is there to do that kind of work, or he's eating himself to death, or both. Why can't it be both? It can be both. Anyway, back to mail. It says, but seriously, my question is, what business and marketing resources or books would you recommend to independent comic creators who are clueless about such areas? And if Young Perch was getting ready to make and crowdfund his own comic in today's market, what would be his one-man band marketing strategy and business plan look like? I write, draw, color my own work, have written for other artists, and assembled print files, produced other merchandise, and really love getting stuck into the creative side of things, but I always feel underwhelmed and directionless when it comes to business and marketing my own books. Love your channel, listen daily. Thank you for the entertainment. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Merry Christmas to you as well. By the way, funny thing, as I think many of you know, I'm living in Texas at the moment, and for a little while longer, and we're getting cards for some of the people that I work with and have been helping, mentoring down here, and I pick up these cards. They say "Merry Christmas" on it. And Mrs. Perch, my wife's like, "Oh, you can't get those. That's like the company's not going to let you have those. It needs to say Happy Holiday on it." I'm like, not in Texas. Not in Texas. It could say Merry Christmas and have a picture with Jesus and a gun on it. It would be fine. Absolutely fine. We are not in Seattle anymore. It was a fun moment. Anyway. Okay, so first off, I could give you a little bit of advice for this whole thing. And keep in mind, I did the brief, the little small crowdfunding book with Larry. He's done a second and a third, and so in the new year, I think we're going to get to putting those out there and going through it again. We found more success through through the newsstand. What is the newsstand? The new newsstand than crowdfunding in some cases. So I think there's a lot that can be done there, but still, crowdfunding is fun. If you're going out to do it, first off, I would say separate kind of three things: the production. And this is, put another way, this is the don't lose money part of the equation, the marketing, and then the actual business. Kind of separate those three out because they require different skills. So we'll hit marketing last. So first, the easiest one is the don't lose money with you're doing, which is closely related to business. But I find it very helpful when you're thinking about business for something you're doing on your own. And in this instance, it doesn't matter if you're crowdfunding a comic book or you're opening up a plumbing business or whatever the hell you're doing. You're doing a consultancy, etc. One of the things that came out in that Sean Murphy, How to Make Money and Keep Money in Comics, that I think was really smart, and this applies here, is calculate how much time how much your time is worth. What is your hourly rate? And don't feel shy or embarrassed or anything about this. Whether it's high or whether it's low, it doesn't matter. Everybody starts somewhere. Once upon a time, Perch was making whatever it was. What was it's like $5.50 an hour? No more than that. I don't know. Not much, right? And then you work your way up. So figure out how much your time is worth an hour. If you were working, what would it be worth? And then from there, that kind of tells you how much you don't want to lose in your time. If you're gonna, for example, you could do this very quick math in your head. Let's say you want to pack comic books into boxes. You do a crowdfunding thing. You sell 1,000 comics, and now you're going to send out 1,000 comics. Okay. So what you got to do is, you got to pack all those comics, and that takes time. Let's say packing up 1,000 comics is going to take you 4 hours. Let's say, I don't know, but just keep it simple, 4 hours. All right, now let's say that your time you determined, if you were working, if you were out, doing whatever you're doing in your life, your time's worth $20 an hour. Okay, let's say it's that. Okay, well, then if it's going to take you 4 hours to pack, that means you're basically having to, pay yourself $80 to do it. So can somebody else pack this thing for less than $80? Can they do a quality job? If so, do that. Figure it out. Find a neighborhood kid who's weirdly, meticulous in what they do and will do a good job, and you can pay them $10 to do it. I mean, figure that stuff out. Lower your costs getting out the door. Because remember, it's your business, so it's not like you're making $80. You're spending money to yourself. So figure out if there's some smarter ways to do that. Just that's a very kind of grade school level kind of application to business. Figure out what your time is worth, how much you're going to sink into it, and basically how much you're going to have to earn back. It's not just about the postage and the printing costs and other things. It's about the other pieces too. Now, let's say and it kind of put in a different way, let's say your time is worth $400 an hour. Okay, $400 an hour, $1,600. Yeah, absolutely, you should not be packing those things yourself unless you find it calming and relaxing. It helps you out in a different way. So do that. But make sure that you're not going in the hole, because one of the things that happens to a lot of people who have lost money on crowdfunding is that they have to pay people, they have to get the shipping, they have to get the printing. All of those things cost almost always a little bit more than you think. You will budget $100, you'll spend $120, because stuff like that. So if on top of that you're having to do a lot of the manual labor yourself, and then you can't, you no longer have the time to do other things like draw another book or do covers or whatever it happens to be, then you're digging this invisible hole for yourself, but it's still a hole. So first, figure that out. The second bucket, business. Okay, now is where is the making money part. Let's say we've got all of our costs covered. Now it's all upside from here. How are we gonna do this? Well, your biggest application is don't get caught into any weird culture war bullshit stuff, again, unless it's going to profit you. If you have a way to kind of harness the culture war in order to get more sales, go for it. But generally, your better place is mass distribution, meaning going everywhere. And what I mean by this is some people have said like, hey, only put your comic on Indiegogo. They don't say this stuff anymore, but don't put your comic anywhere else. Don't do Kickstarter. Don't do Comixology, don't do a comic book store, those guys are communists, whatever happens to be. Don't get caught up in that nonsense. Your goal is the dollar. You are the capitalist. The capitalist thinks about how they can make as much money as humanly possible everywhere, legally. But that is your goal. If you are a, super big Trump supporter, but you determine that your comic is not, there's no culture war aspect to it. There's nothing kind of that's going to get you into some, you don't have an online presence people are going to want to target, and you determine you could make more money off of Kickstarter than Indiegogo. Well, cool. Then do Kickstarter. It doesn't matter. I don't want to support businesses that go against myself ideologically. That's fine. You can make that call. I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't. I'm saying think about them, compartmentalize. First, figure out how much money you can make. What's the business going to do for you? Then think about where you want things going on. If you hate Arby's and you hate it in the core of your very soul and being, but You know that Arby's is, would bring in an extra $1,000 to whatever your venture is by partnering up with them. Then, you should explore those options. Doesn't mean you have to do them. It means you need to know how much they're worth, how much money you're walking away from. A lot of people make gut decisions based off stuff they see on YouTube or what they think is going to support. Again, they're a little fast to the culture war. It's stupid. Figure out how much money you're walking away from. Always, all options, all places. Don't let somebody else, don't outsource your business options to other people, particularly those who do not have your best interest in heart half the time. Figure out how much you're going to make and then make decisions. Now, you may still say, you know what, like me, fuck it, I'm not supporting Arby's. I'm $1,000 poorer, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, it's way better to be able to make those decisions for yourself. The final one is marketing. And marketing, even more so, is get the word out. Get the word out anywhere and everywhere you can. Certainly with crowdfunding stuff, live streams are helpful. Videos are helpful, but also make it easy. If you are going to rely on other people to do your marketing, let's say you want Perch to do something for your show, send Perch what you want to say. Like, treat Perch like your puppet. Send him a script and some art and say, hey, Perch, would you please promote my product? Here is the paragraph I'd like you to read. Don't make it like a 50-page novel, though, because then Perch won't do it. But give Perch a paragraph. It is weird talking about myself in the third person here. Give me a paragraph and give me a piece of art to say, hey, at the beginning of the video, would you mind reading this paragraph and showing this art on the screen and this link? That would be helpful. Like, create what they call this is a press kit in other businesses. A press kit is a group, a little bit of material. You get like a couple different images, one landscape, one portrait. Basically, you're trying to give people all the tools they need for whatever it is they do. And you basically say, here's a long paragraph, here's a short paragraph, here's a link, here's 5 pieces of art that apply to 5 different types of video formats or whatever it happens to be. Would you help support my comic? Here you go. And then get that press kit out to as many people as possible. Many people will do it. Some will come back to you saying, hey, I'll do it for $10 or whatever. And then, you get to make another choice. Say like, hey, will this place I'm going to bring in more money than $10? If so, pay the $10. If not, don't. So it's pretty. So a lot of people do this stuff for free if you just make it easy. If you make it easy on them, a lot of people will do a lot for you. So that's kind of there's certainly more in what you can do, but the key message here is mass. Do as much as you can, as many places as you can. Leave no stone uncovered, and don't fall into traps of having other people kind of tell you what to do and do it for their own selfish reasons. That is a trap. Anyway, thank you very much for sending this in. Appreciate all of your comments and support, and thanks for listening.